Caleb here. I messed up. So that's why you're hearing me talk to you before we actually do a reading. This recording was done during a live stream, so when I realized I wasn't recording, I didn't say anything to stop the flow of the conversation, because when you're live streaming, it really doesn't make sense to stop, back up, and then redo something. Thankfully, it was only like a page or so, so I will read what we didn't get, and then I'll fade into the live recording, and you'll know it's the live recording because then Hawkeye's going to suddenly be laughing at you. Or me. Yeah, he's going to be laughing at me. Twilight, Chapter 5, Blood Type. I made my way to English in a daze. I didn't even realize when I first walked in that class had already started. 'Cause I'm a fucking moron. Thank you for joining us, Miss Swan, Mr. Mason said in a disparaging tone. I flushed and hurried to my seat. It wasn't till class ended that I realized Mike wasn't sitting in his usual seat next to me. I felt a twinge of guilt. It's been so long I don't remember why you should feel guilty, but it was probably for a dumb reason. But he and Eric both met me at the door, as usual, so I feared I wasn't totally unforgiven. Mike seemed to become more himself as we walked, gaining enthusiasm as he talked about the weather report for this weekend. The rain was supposed to take a minor break, and so maybe his beach trip would be possible. I tried to sound eager, to make up for disappointing him yesterday. It was hard. Rain or no rain, it would still only be in the high 40s, if we were lucky. Why would you go to the beach if it was going to be 40 degrees outside? It doesn't make any sense. You should point this out, friend, that this is not smart. The rest of the morning passed in a blur. It was difficult to believe that I hadn't just imagined what Edward had said, and the way his eyes had looked. Maybe it was just a very convincing dream that I'd confused with reality. Maybe the author thinks she has more depth than she can by using a lot of metaphors. That seemed more probable than that I really appealed to him on any level. So I was impatient and frightened, I guess. From what I remember at this point, I don't see why you would be frightened about anything, but alright. As Jessica and I entered the cafeteria, I wanted to see his face, to hear if he'd gone back to the cold, indifferent person I'd known for the last several weeks, or if, by some miracle, I'd really heard what I thought I'd heard this morning. Which I don't remember. This is the problem with going back and recording stuff that I really haven't listened to in a couple of months. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to make this funny since I have to read this on my own, and I don't think it's working. Jessica babbled on and on about her dance plans because I'm a fucking asshole and I just can't tell her I'm not interested and don't be friends with her. Lauren and Angela had asked the other boys about what, and they were all going together. Oh, I guess about the dance. Completely unaware of my inattention. You know, you don't have to be friends with these people you're not friends with and that you clearly don't care about and are an asshole to. Disappointment flooded through me as my eyes unerringly focused on his table. Oh my God, I can use huge-ass words to make me sound super deep. The other four were there, but he was absent. Had he gone home? I followed the still babbling Jessica through the line. Fuck you, fuck the fuck out of you fucking asshole. I'm pissed, I'm like, dick hat. Like, I don't know how anybody actually likes you. Crushed. I lost my appetite.
If only. I'd lost my appetite. Hey, me too. That seems to happen when I read this story. Yeah, I bought nothing but a bottle of lemonade. I just wanted to go sit down and sulk.
Well, you'd say anybody would, but Zaffer sounds like he's still eating.
That's me. I'm also eating too. As he's...
Nom, nom, nom.
Edward Cullen is staring at you again.
Jessica said, finally breaking through my abstraction with his name. I wonder why he's sitting alone today.
Wait, breaking through my abstraction?
Breaking through, like with the
I'm not sure that means what you think it means.
Probably not.
Anyway.
Now you may go, Zapper.
My head snapped up. I followed her gaze to see Edward smiling crookedly staring at me from an empty table. Oh, because that's not creepy at all. Just sitting by yourself, just staring at someone with a smile on your face. A crooked smile.
It sounds familiar.
Oh.
See, this is why I'm like, if it turned out that her supposed love interest was actually the main villain and she had to, actually fight him, this would be really kind of cool, but
she's
it's not.
The villain.
Well, I was thinking, I've talked about this before, so I'm just going to let it slide until I put chapter 4 up.
My head snapped up. I followed blah, 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 blah. Once he'd caught my eye, he raised one hand and motioned with his index finger to come and join.
It's not the finger that he was motioning with.
No,
I'm just
it
sitting
was
there and
this
I'm like,
one.
he's creepy motherfucker staring at her, and then she looks at him and
I
he's just
know,
like,
right?
"Come
Well, he
here."
wasn't saying with his finger, come to me. He was saying, this is where I want you to sit.
Come to Edward.
I stared in disbelief as he winked. This is a dream sequence, isn't it?
I wish.
Because this is stupid.
Well, yes, this whole thing is stupid. Welcome to the story.
Does he mean you? Jessica asked with insulting astonishment in her voice. I don't know, maybe he meant the, giant Bigfoot behind you all. Who the fuck knows? He's just looking at somewhere going, hey, asshole, come here.
Maybe he needs help with his biology homework, I muttered for her benefit. I'd better go see what he wants. That finger is very tempting.
What?
Anyway. I could feel her staring after me as I walked away.
When I reached his table, I stood behind the chair across from him, unsure.
Of what?
Exactly.
Sure.
Everything.
Sit with me today, he asked, smiling.
I sat down automatically, even though I didn't grab my lunch tray or anything, or my, bottle of lemonade is what she actually got.
She doesn't have a lunch tray.
Yeah, I just
She
realized
has no
that after I
appetite.
said that.
Yeah.
I sat down automatically, watching him with caution, right? So that's why you sat down at the table instead of standing there going, I am not sure about this. But anyway, he was still smiling. It was hard to believe that someone so beautiful could be real. Oh my god.
Are you serious?
Sadly, yes.
Her seat is soaking wet.
I was afraid that he might disappear in a sudden puff of smoke, and I would wake up.
He seemed to be waiting for me to say something.
This is different. I finally managed.
Well, he paused, and then the rest of the words followed in a rush. I decided as long as I was going to hell, I might as well do it thoroughly.
What?
So he's reading the story with us.
Apparently. He is fully
Well,
aware that he's in a story that's shit, and he's just like, you know what, fuck it, I'll go along with it.
Wait, guys. One of us is Edward. But who?
It's not
Laundry
me,
free,
I
not
got
it.
a vagina.
That means
That
nothing.
doesn't
Cassie.
matter.
That means nothing, Cassie.
Remember what Hushicho said? He said, I'm pretty sure gender bent Edward is just still Edward.
I mean, she did make that recent thing where she gender bent her own characters and told the story that way.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she did. Hold on.
She did.
I forgot what is it called? After Death or something?
No, it's called something stupid, but yeah, she reversed genders of
Life and Death. Life and Death. Twilight reimagined. So everyone's gender bent, basically.
Okay, I guess.
So it's plausible
Instead
anyone
of
else.
it's a psycho girl stalking a guy, it's a psycho guy stalking a girl, which is way creepier.
So basically, it's possible for any of us to be Edward still.
Well, how can you fault that logic?
In an
Let's go
alternate
with it.
universe, I'm a boy, And I still hate this story.
Well, in an alternate universe, I'm a girl and I've got rockin' tits.
Oh wow, that's not bad. Universe to be in, I guess. You still have no
I was
ass?
going to say something, but I don't think I can beat that.
Okay, that's something I want not fan fiction, but fan art of the entire Biff cast gender bent.
No.
I would love that, honestly.
Why?
I like gender bending.
That makes one of us.
We now know Cassie's thing.
I've always admitted that I like
Well,
gender
we know
bending
many of
and
Cassie's
stories.
things.
I don't mind if fan art with me gender bent. That's fine.
Just as long
So
as
where
we
did
got
we
clothes on and we're not like doing each other.
Yeah, that's.
Well,
You
the thing
can
is,
draw
I
me
need,
doing myself.
I need fan art that's properly done of me at all before we work on adding tits, I think.
So where did we leave off?
I don't
And who
know.
chooses it? Yeah, I did say Hell was doing it thoroughly. You're right. I waited for him to say something.
Seconds trickled by.
What?
You
Oh.
know, I don't have any idea what you mean.
I don't know
eventually
what's
pointed
going
out.
on.
I don't know either.
Just keep going. Roll
Alright.
with it.
I know. He smiled again, and then changed the subject.
I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!
I think your friends are angry with me for stealing you. No, I think they're a bunch of assholes, especially that one Jessica person, but for some reason we don't know why she's an asshole, she just is.
They'll survive. I could feel their stares boring into my back.
Oh, but only after he mentioned it.
She's too busy thinking about Everett's good parts.
I may not give you back, though, he said with a wicked glint in his eyes.
That's
Not
not
creepy.
creepy at all. It's not
Not
like this
at
guy is some kind of weird stalker dude that we should not go fuck with.
He's a vampire.
I gulped. Yoink, Scooby!
He laughed. You look worried.
As someone should after
As
that
you should.
left somebody's mouth. No, I said, but ridiculously, my voice broke. Excuse me. Surprised. Actually, what brought all this on?
I told you. I got tired. I'm trying to stay
Batman?
away.
I got tired.
That
I'm
Edward man.
I got tired of trying to stay away from you, so I'm giving up.
He was still smiling, but his ochre eyes were serious.
His ochre eyes.
Ochre. Ogre.
There's no K in there.
Okay, sure as
I would
that.
pronounce it as Ocher.
Ouch. Ouch.
His Ocher eyes.
Giving up? I repeated in confusion. Yep, I'm giving up too. That sounds like a good call.
Yes, giving up trying to be good. I'm just going to do what I want now, and let the chips fall where they may. His smile faded, and he explained. His smile faded as he explained, and a hard edge crept into his voice.
You lost me again.
It wasn't hard.
Not very.
Yeah, really.
The breathtaking, crooked smile reappeared.
Oh my god.
I always say too much when I'm talking to you. That's one of my problems.
Are you sure you're going to be able to speak later if you keep that voice up?
Yeah, really.
So long as I'm not Edward every time my line appears.
Yeah, that's rolling the dice right there.
Hmm.
Don't worry, I don't understand any of it, I said Riley. I'll
I'm
believe
just a
that.
girl doing. I'm counting on that.
I'm counting on you not understanding shit so that when I fuck you over, you won't see it coming. Or tattle
I'm
on
not
it.
even gonna say surprise.
So, in plain English, are we friends now?
Friends, he mused, dubious.
Or not, I muttered.
He grinned. Well, we can try, I suppose. But I'm warning you now that I'm not a good friend for you.
And
Behind
that was the
his...
Then why
What?
are you just like,
This
dude?
creepy
that was the-
motherfucker!
that was
You
the
don't wanna
first.
be my friend.
That should have been a red flag for her right there.
There's so many red flags that have gone up about this guy already. This is like
Yeah, we're
the checkered flag now.
Well, it's not like
It's not
she's
running
mentally
out of red
healthy
at this
either.
point. Behind his smile, the warning was real next.
You say that a lot. I noted, trying to ignore the sudden trembling in my stomach and keep my voice even.
Yes, because you're not listening to me. I'm still waiting for you to believe it. If you're smart, you'll avoid me.
So of course she's not going to.
Oh my god.
You witnessed me kill somebody, which she hasn't yet, but just saying. You witnessed me kill somebody, but you're like, I want you to hang out with me, but if you're smart, you won't do as I tell you to, because I'm going to kick your ass. It's what this sounds like. I think you've made your opinion on the subject of my intellect clear, too.
I would hope so.
My eyes narrowed.
He smiled apologetically.
How do you know it's an apologetic smile? How do you know he's not just screwing with you?
Bella's just trying to believe the reality she wants to believe.
So as long as I'm being not smart, we'll try to be friends? I struggled to sum up the confusing exchange.
That sounds about right.
I looked down at my hands wrapped around the lemonade bottle, not sure what to do now.
I'm sure a lot of people have that problem the first time.
That's when
Yeah,
you drink.
I couldn't figure out lemonade bottles to begin with, too.
What are you thinking? He asked curiously.
I looked up into his deep gold eyes, became befuddled, and as usual, blurted out the truth.
Sorry, wow.
Yeah, you got your eyes thing.
I'm trying to figure out what you are.
His jaw tightened, but he kept his smile in place with some effort.
Are you having any luck with that? He asked in an offhand tone.
Not too much, I admitted.
He chuckled.
What are your theories?
He cuckolded. Oh no.
I blushed. I had been vacillating during the last month between Bruce Wayne and Peter Parker.
DC versus Marvel.
Yeah. Okay. There was
Vaseline?
no way I was going to own up to that. Yeah, I don't like to talk about what I write either.
Won't you tell me? He asked, tilting his head to one side with a shockingly tempting smile.
I shook my head. It's too embarrassing.
That's really frustrating, you know. He
I'm
complained.
gonna tell you this, but I'm Batman.
I'm Batman. Quite literally,
No.
I'm Batman. Sort of.
I'm
No.
Pac-Man.
Batman.
I disagreed quickly, my knives airing. I can't imagine why that would be frustrating at all. Just because someone refuses to tell you what they're thinking, even if all the while they're making cryptic little remarks specifically designed to keep you at night wondering what they could possibly mean. Now, why would that be frustrating?
He grimaced.
He's the
Like the
grimace.
famous McDonald's joke.
Yes. I knew
Kill
somebody
the
would
grimace.
pick that up, so I didn't even bother.
Or better, I continued, the pent-up annoyance flowing freely now.
So that's what you
Save-
kids are calling it these days.
Oh, gosh. Say that person also did a wide range of bizarre things, from saving your life under impossible circumstances one day to treating you like a pariah the next. And he never explained any of that, even after he promised. That also would be very non-frustrating.
Oh, you've got a bit of a temper, don't you?
I don't like double standards.
We stared at each other, unsmiling.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
The story of the rest of their relationship.
He glanced over my shoulder, and then, unexpectedly, he snickered, because Snickers really satisfy.
What?
Your boyfriend seems to think I'm being unpleasant to you. He's debating whether or not to come and break up our fight. He snickered again.
I don't know who you're talking about, I said frostily, but I'm sure you're wrong. Anyway.
I'm not. I told you, most people are easy to read.
Except me, of course.
Yes, except for you. His mood shifted suddenly, his eyes turned brooding. I wonder why that is.
Oh my Christ.
And the world's greatest detective. I can't figure this shit out.
I'm a world's greatest detective. I had to look away from the intensity of his stare. I concentrated on screwing the lid of my lemonade. I took a swig, staring at the table without seeing it.
So you're blind.
Yes. That might explain some things, but I don't know how she saw any of this.
Yeah, like every single creepy stare he's ever given her.
Aren't you hungry? he asked, distracted. By
No.
what?
Her
Oh
boobs.
God.
No, I didn't feel like mentioning that my stomach was already full of butterflies.
Oh, butterflies!
You? I looked at the empty table in front of him.
So I'm just choosing to believe that she just kind of just ate handfuls of live butterflies because that's the kind of person she is.
You monster! Why would you do that?
Squishing ants and burning them with a.
Yeah.
With a magnifying glass, yeah. No, I'm not hungry. I didn't understand his expression. It looked like he was enjoying some private joke.
Can you do me a favor? I asked after a second of hesitation.
He was suddenly wary. That depends on what you want. Wow. What a creepy asshole. Everything he says.
It's not much, I assured him.
He waited, guarded but curious.
I just wondered if you could warn me beforehand the next time you decide to ignore me for my own good, just so I'm prepared.
God.
I looked at the lemonade bottle as I spoke, tracing the circle of the opening with my pinky finger.
Why would you do that with your pinky finger? Why would you do that at all?
That sounds fair. He was pressing his lips together to keep from laughing when I looked up.
Then can I have one answer in return? He demanded.
One.
I'm sorry. I got overwhelmed by this for a moment.
It's okay, I'll just take instruction.
Tell me one theory.
Whoops, not that one. Singular sensation in every single step she takes. Do-do-do-do-do. Okay, sorry.
Sorry, not starry.
No, I'm not.
You didn't qualify. You just promised one answer.
You didn't qualify. Typos!
You failed.
Yeah, he reminded me.
And, you've broken promises yourself. I reminded him back.
Just one theory. I won't laugh.
I will. Yes, you will. I was positive about that.
He looked down and then glanced up at me through his long black lashes, his ochre eyes scorching.
Please! Breathed, leaning towards me.
I blinked, my mind going blank. Holy crow. Crow?
Holy crow.
That's racist.
Never heard that term before? Holy crow?
I've heard holy cow, never a crow.
Holy crow. I've been guilty of saying that before.
Okay,
That must be a regional thing.
probably. How did he do that?
What? I asked, dazed.
Please tell me just one little theory his eyes still smoldered at me next.
Well, bitten by a radioactive spider? Was he a hypnotist too? Or was I just a hopeless pushover?
Yes.
That's not very creative, he scoffed.
I'm sorry, that's all I've got. I said miffed.
You're not even close, he teased.
No spiders?
Nope.
And no radioactivity.
Nope.
Dang, I sighed.
Kryptonite doesn't bother me either, he chuckled.
You're not supposed to laugh, remember?
He struggled to compose his face.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
I'll figure it out eventually, I warned him.
I wish you wouldn't try. He was serious again.
Because?
What if I'm not a superhero? What if I'm just the hero this town needs? What if I'm in the bad guy?
What,
He
wait,
smiled
what
playfully.
if you're in the bad guy? Is that what you said, Dave?
Don't mock me! What if I'm the bad guy? He smiled playfully, but his eyes were impenetrable.
I need you to be 50% more gravelly.
And do you have a
I'm
bird
not wearing
as a
hockey
sidekick?
pads. Oh, I said as several things he hinted at suddenly fell into place. I see. You're the bad guy. I love you even more now.
That's usually how it goes.
Let me have your baby!
Do you? His face was abruptly severe. Okay? As if he were afraid that I'd accidentally said too much. Oh, he'd accidentally said too much.
You're
Someone is giggling.
I do hear the giggling, yes.
I live in a one-bedroom apartment. My sister's in the other room.
Okay.
You're, like, dangerous, I guess.
Let's
pulse quickening.
get dangerous.
My
Also, it's Darkwing
quickening-
Duck. Okay.
Dangerous.
Darkwing Duck! My pulse quickening as I intuitively realized the truth of my own words. He was dangerous. You've been trying to tell me that all along.
You
Bella,
fucking
you
moron!
are
Are
a
you so
moron.
blind?
Dangeresque, too. This is so fucking bad. Okay.
He just looked at me, eyes full of some emotion I couldn't comprehend. So, like most of them, probably.
But, like, not bad, I whispered, shaking my head. No, I don't want to believe that you're bad.
You're wrong. Or no, wait, I'm sorry. Let's do Kevin Spacey here. Wrong! His voice was almost inaudible. He looked down, stealing my bottle lid and then spinning it on its side between his fingers. I stared at him, wondering why I didn't feel afraid. He meant what he was saying. That was obvious. But I just felt anxious, on edge, and more than anything else, fascinated. The same way I felt when I was near him. Or the same way I always felt when I was near him.
Am I sure I didn't spill my lemonade?
The silence lasted until I noticed that the cafeteria was almost empty.
I jumped to my feet. We're, like, going to be so late.
I'm not going to class today, he said, twirling the lid so fast it was just a blur.
I never go to class, no. Like, why not?
It's healthy to ditch class every now and then. He smiled up at me, but his eyes were still troubled. See, like, there's holes in the logic. It's like we're integrating ourselves because we want to have a social life, but
Yeah.
at the same time, we don't.
Yep.
Yeah, soon a choir of children are gonna sing about the 7 deadly sins. Or the 10, or no, it's the 10 commandments.
Thou shalt not kill. Much better
I don't get the
movie than
reference.
this book. Well, I'm going, I told him. I was far too big a coward to risk getting caught.
He turned his attention back to his makeshift top.
I'll see you later then.
He'll-
Did you add a goofy laugh at the end of that?
Yeah, that's what I thought I heard.
Yes!
Yuck, yuck, yuck.
I hesitated, torn. But then the first bell sent me hurrying out the door, with the last glance confirming that he hadn't moved a centimeter.
As I half ran to class, my head was spinning faster than the bottle cap. So few questions had been answered in comparison to how many new questions had been raised. At least the rain had stopped.
Which
I
is
didn't
really
know-
neither here nor there.
Right.
At no point had it mentioned it was raining.
And even if it was, you're inside, so who cares?
I was lucky. Mr. Banner wasn't in the room when I arrived, so I settled quickly into my seat, aware that both Mike and Angela were staring at me. Mike looked resentful. Angela looked surprised and slightly odd.
Mr. Banner came in the room then, calling the class to order. He was
Hulk smash!
He was
Yes, sir,
juggling
yeah.
a few small cardboard boxes in his arms. He put them down on Mike's table, telling him to start passing them around the class. The boxes, or what's inside the boxes?
We'll find out.
Yes.
Okay, guys, I want y'all to take one piece of each box.
He said as he produced a pair of rubber gloves from the pocket of his lab jacket
Yes,
and
they're
pulled
going
them
to
on.
dissect insects and
The
animals.
sharp sound as the gloves snapped onto place against his ribs seemed ominous to me.
The first should be an indicator card.
He went on, grabbing a white card with 4 squares marked on it and displaying it. The second is a 4-pronged applicator. He held up something that looked like a nearly toothless hair pick. And a third is a sterile micro lancet. He held up a small piece of blue plastic and split it open. The barb was invisible from this distance, but my stomach flipped.
I'll be coming around with a dropper of water to prepare your cards, so please don't start until I get to you. He began at Mike's table again, carefully putting 1 drop of water in each of the 4 squares. Then I want you to carefully prick your finger with the lancet. No! No!
No, nope.
No! This is stupid! You're stupid! No one in
Thank you,
high school
you're
is going to
stupid.
tell you to prick your finger, and I would tell him to shove it up his ass!
I'm sorry, what?
If somebody asked me in a class to draw my own blood, I would have some choice words about that.
And it
We did
wasn't
that
so
3
you could
times in
pinky
high
swear.
school.
Oh, you
Once
dirty
each year.
Canadians.
Yep. The first time we drew our blood and we looked at our own blood under a microscope. The second time we drew blood and used it in some kind of weird like experiment to talk about blood sugars and stuff like that.
And
I
the
don't
third
remem-
time was completely fetish related.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, the reason we never did it and, was told why is because people have, diseases and stuff, and it just wouldn't be safe to, like, poke people and have blood around.
We didn't use the same needle.
Well, I know that, and neither would we have, but that's the reason they gave, so that's why we never did it.
This must be something you guys must have done when you were in high school, because I was probably like not even 5 when this was occurred or something even.
I would have
The
started
teacher
suplex.
said that like we're gonna
to
look
run
at
away.
blood under the microscope, and anyone who was like, I don't want to look at my own blood, he's like, stop being a coward. My friend ended up stabbing himself like 30 times because apparently he's got skin and doesn't bleed much.
Yeah, if I said, hey, I'm not going to stab myself for you, and somebody said, don't be a coward, I'd be like, you do it.
Or go
yeah,
and
then
get
he-
that guy fired, because apparently that guy's an
Well,
asshole and he doesn't know how to actually teach anything.
Actually, Mr. Moon was like the greatest teacher ever. He was fucking great.
Is the reason the vampire kid is not attending classes because he knows that this bloodletting is going to be going on, and he's just in the closet furiously
You know,
masturbating?
that's actually really smart, which leads me to believe that the author didn't think of it.
Oh, okay.
No, of course.
I might get hated for this, but what if Mr. Banner's one of those monks from My Inner Life? The
Ah,
present day monk.
the monks, quote unquote.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's why they're pricking blood.
Yeah, anyway. He grabbed Mike's hand and jabbed the spike into the tips of Mike's middle finger. If somebody did
Okay,
that to
now
me,
the teacher did not stab us. We had to stab ourselves.
like,
in the
if somebody
thumb.
suddenly did that to me, like, I would punch them in the face out of reflex.
Well, you know what they gave us, right? They gave us that little thing that they test diabetics with. It just goes pop. It's
I
like
mean, I figure that's probably what this is, but you don't, like, suddenly stab somebody in the finger without warning. Oh no. Clammy moisture broke out across my forehead.
Put small drop of blood on each of prongs, he demonstrated, squeezing Mike's finger till the blood flowed.
The
I
blood
swallowed.
must. Oh.
yeah, teachers aren't allowed to do that.
I know, right?
Are you gonna fuck with the Incredible Hulk? I don't think so.
Good point.
I swallowed convulsively, my stomach heaving.
Do you not do blood?
I guess not, no.
Is she
Well,
afraid of blood?
Boyfriend doesn't do
She's
blood.
got like the worst boyfriend ever.
Didn't she have like PTSD from the car incident? That's what it seems like from someone who's never read the books.
And then to apply it to the card, he finished holding up the dripping. Why is it dripping?
How much blood did you draw?
he
This
draw
I
from
know.
this kid?
Well, if he's the Incredible Hulk, if he squeezed
He's
his arm, his
He's
hand
like holding up the
exploded.
car, and he
Okay.
popped his entire hand like a pimple.
Oh no! I gotta say some things here. First
If
of all,
you must.
one, if you've had an injury where you've like contaminated your blood in any way within 6 months, like if you've had a piercing, the Red Cross won't take your blood.
Right.
Right.
So this guy's basically contaminating all their bloods, and he's like, "Hey, kids, there's a blood drive."
But
next to
also, I
Well,
don't think
maybe
they
he knows
take you
there's a
unless you're an
vampire.
adult, do they?
Who?
The Red Cross.
No, they come to my high. They came to my high school all the time.
Yeah, they came to my high school too. Yeah.
Okay.
That would have that thing that Zaf made. That would have made a much better story than that.
I don't
Than-
remember if they came to my high school, but they came to my college.
Yeah, they came to my high school all the time because, like, unlike Americans, we don't get paid for donating blood.
No, I did. I think
We
they
don't
came-
get paid for donating blood. We can only get paid for donating plasma. I mean, it's weird, but there's this legal thing about that. I don't understand why, but that's the way it is.
They came to both the high schools I went to, and I went to both.
And then apply it to the card. He finished holding up a dripping red card for us to see. That is not right. I closed my eyes, trying to hear through the ringing in my ears.
The Red Cross is having a blood drive in Port Angeles next weekend.
Angeles, yeah.
Angeles.
I'm gonna go with Angelus because I think that's more hilarious. So I thought you should all know your blood type. He sounded proud of himself. Those of you who aren't 18 yet will need a parent's permission. I have slips on my desk.
So he might have just jabbed a kid who doesn't have parental consent.
I was about to say Mike's on the ground holding a bloody stump yelling, I'm only 17!
Yes.
He was only 17.
He continued through the room with his water drops. I put my cheek against the cool black tabletop and tried to hold on to my consciousness. All around me, I could hear squeals, complaints, and giggles as my classmates skewered their fingers. I breathed in slowly and out through my mouth.
Is she really having a panic attack over like a drop of blood?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she is.
Bella, you alright? The Incredible Hulk asked. His voice was close to my head, and it sounded alarmed.
I already know my blood type, Mr. Banner, I said in a weak voice. I was afraid to raise my hand.
Your hand?
Head, sorry.
There you go. Okay.
I can't read.
No problem.
Are you feeling faint?
Yes, sir, I muttered, internally kicking myself for not ditching when I had the chance.
Can someone take Bella to a nurse, please? He called.
Okay, I went to like 4 schools. This is also like, goes with what you guys have been saying.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I went to 4 different schools in my growing up life, and not one of them had a on-site nurse.
Really?
Really?
Yes.
Holy crap.
Or police. We didn't have
I-
police at any of my schools.
I'm sort of like you in that regard. I went to a bunch of different public schools when I was growing up, but they all had a nurse's office.
Yeah, we didn't have a nurse's office. We didn't have a security guard of any kind. Maybe my high school did, but if we did, I don't fucking know who they were.
I didn't have to look up to know that it would be Mike, the human fountain, who volunteered.
Why did she have to go to the nurse's office? Why wouldn't he be like, why don't you wait outside the classroom or go sit in the cafeteria until you feel better?
Because she's feeling faint.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Can you walk?
Yeah, in any of the schools that I went to, I would have been told to go to the nurse's office.
Yeah.
No, they just sat my ass outside and told me to wait.
Yeah,
But you had a terrible school, and I feel sorry for
that's
you.
probably what would have happened at mine. They would have just excused you from the class.
I even fainted once in the hall. And
I
don't
cut
know-
the end of my thumb off in my photography class,
Yeah.
and
Ow!
yeah, I ended up just walking to the hospital because it was closer.
Wow.
This is first world countries taking care of their children, people.
Yeah. Can you walk, Mr. Hulk said.
Yes, I whispered, just let me get out of here, I thought. I crawl.
Mike seemed eager as he put his arm around my waist and pulled my arm over his shoulder. I leaned against him heavily on the way out of the classroom.
Mike towed me slowly across campus. Beep, beep. When we were around the edge of the cafeteria, out of sight of Building 4, in case Mr. Banner was watching, I stopped.
Just let me sit for a moment, please, I begged.
He helped me sit on the edge of the walk. Man, I do not want to let her know what's going to happen in the 3rd or 4th book involving her baby's birth.
Oh gosh.
I don't. If she can't handle like a fucking drop of blood, she's gonna just like die. Hopefully.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't complain.
And whatever you do, like, keep your hand in your pocket. What?
What?
Are you suggesting he's gonna fill you up because you're ill?
Yeah, keep that bloody stump away from me.
Yeah, it's just like...
Oh, I get it, because his hand is a human fountain.
I warned. I was still so dizzy, I slumped over on my side, putting my cheek against the freezing damp cement of the sidewalk, closing my eyes. That seemed to help a little.
Yeah, Mike found himself a new ability. He uses the finger guns, right? And every time
No!
Wow, you're green, Bella.
Oh,
Mike
so
said
she's the
Like the
She-Hulk.
teacher.
She-Hulk.
She-Hulk, She-Hulk.
Mike said nervously.
Bella! A different voice called from the distance.
No, please let me be imagining that horribly familiar voice.
What's wrong? Is she hurt? His
She's
voice
not
was closer.
bleeding, is she?
She's not bleeding, is she? His voice was closer now. He sounded upset. I wasn't imagining it. I squeezed my eyes shut, hoping to die for the sake of the readers, or at the very least, not to throw up all over these pages.
Mike
How can you
seems
see my book?
stressed. I think she fainted. I don't know what happened. She didn't even stick her finger.
Bella!
Edward's voice was right beside me. Really now.
Can you hear me?
Bella, can you hear me?
No, I groaned. Go away. I have.
Perfect. Fitting.
He chuckled.
Yay.
Like Jeff Goldblum in the Jurassic Park.
Oh, that was you.
It's Zephyr's turn once again. Won't he start reading soon? Everybody wait and see. It's Zephyr.
I was taking her to the nurse, Mike explained in a defensive tone, but she wouldn't go any further.
Admit it, Zephyr. You just keep missing your turn so that Dave will sing.
No.
Oh, take her, Edward said. I could hear the smile in his voice. You can go back to class.
No, Mike protested. I'm supposed to do it.
Fight, 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 fight.
Yeah,
fight.
I'm like, we're being stingy about this for some reason. I'm not really sure why.
Meanwhile, the girl's practically unconscious on the ground.
Yeah, I'm like, there's a better time for your sissy fight, guys. Shut up and take her to the doctor.
I
Oh,
want
I
to
hope
throw
they're
her
quite
up. Stop
right,
fighting over me.
Oh, it's me now, right?
Yeah.
Yo, do you want me
Yeah.
to sing to you first?
Sure, go for it.
Do 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 do.
Gotta get back to the story now.
Do 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 do. It brings on many changes.
I can't tell what's worse at this point, that song or the story.
Oh, that was so worth it. Anyway, suddenly the sidewalk disappeared from beneath me. I was pulled into a parallel universe.
One where the
Just
story
like
wasn't
Trainspotting.
shit and was actually good.
Actually,
No,
in
that's
all
the
of the
Berenstain
infinite
Bear.
universes, somehow this story never gets better.
Probably. Just gets worse.
My eyes flew open in shock. Edward had scooped me up in his arms as easily as if I weighed 10 pounds instead of 110. That's still not very much.
Put me down! Please, please, let me not vomit on him. He was walking before I was finished talking.
Hey! Mike called, but already 10 paces behind us.
Edward ignored him. You look awful, he told me, grinning.
Wow.
Put me back on the sidewalk, I moaned. The rocking movement of his walk was not helping. He held me away from his body, gingerly supporting all my weight with just his arms. It didn't seem to bother him.
What else was he gonna live to? Oh, no, never mind. Let's not think of it.
So you faint at the sight of blood? He asked. This seemed to entertain him until I projectile vomited
All over him and his face.
I didn't answer. I closed my eyes again and fought the nausea with all my strength, clamping my lips together.
And not even your own blood, he continued, enjoying himself.
Okay,
You're
knowing,
such a dickhead,
right,
Edward.
right? Knowing that this is making her sick, you can continue to talk about it and make her think of it, thus making her sicker.
Yes, talk about your hemorrhoids next.
Hashtag A+ boyfriend material.
Gross.
I don't know how he opened the door while carrying me, but it was suddenly warm, so I knew we were inside. Do you have your eyes closed?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay. I didn't notice.
Oh my. I heard a female voice gasp.
No, that's just George to.
Oh my.
She faded in biology, Edward explained.
I opened my eyes. I was in the office, and Edward was striding
Wait,
past
so
the
not
front
the nurse's office, but just the office itself, where the principal and assistant principal. Or
I'm gonna hawk all over this floor now.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
And Edward was striding past in front of the counter, sliding and skating across the slime trail I vomited onto the floor.
Gross.
Toward the
Dave.
nurse's door.
Wait, why is all this in the same place?
I
Well,
don't
to be
know.
fair, I have gone to schools where it's sort of like this. There's a main office with a
Yeah,
receptionist counter, and then beyond there, it kind of branches into multiple offices, including the nurse.
Yeah.
I've never been to a school like that.
Yeah.
The nurse's office has always been totally separate from, like, the office.
Mrs. Cope, the redhead front office receptionist, ran ahead of him to hold it open.
Why do we
The
need to know these people's names? They're not ever going to come back into this story.
Well, and Cope would be such a better name for the nurse anyway.
You'd think, yeah. Unless the nurse missticks you with a needle.
It's Catherine. It's Catherine from Gregory Horror Show. Even better or worse, depending on how you see things.
The grandmotherly nurse looked up from a novel, astonished.
It was 50 Shades of Grey.
No.
Astonished as Edward swung me into the room and placed me
Like a
gently
baseball bat.
by the legs. Just like he drug her in like a caveman.
Yes.
And placed me gently on the crackly paper that covered the brown vinyl mattress on the one cot. You know, that one cot over there.
Yeah.
Then he moved to stand against the wall as far across the narrow room as possible. His eyes were bright, excited. He was
Gets
horny.
really excited
He
by
was
sick
really
girls.
Yep. She's just a little faint, he reassured the startled nurse. Their blood typing in biology.
The nurse nodded sagely.
Mhm.
There's always one.
He
Thanks,
muffled
nurse.
his
And I will believe that. I will believe that every year somebody faints from blood in biology if they insist on stabbing their students every year.
Yeah.
He muffled a snicker. Snickers.
Snickers are really
Oh,
satisfying.
I've hurt myself so many times.
I want
won't-
a Snicker ice cream. Oh my god, that stuff is like crack.
Wow.
Oh, I just want ice cream. Oh.
I'm not gonna have ice cream because I had pizza. No, thank you.
Now I want either ice cream or pizza, and I can't have either. Thanks, guys.
How come we
I
can't
just
have
want
either
food.
talk? I'm sure we can make arrangements.
Well, maybe, but I don't currently have either, I suppose, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah. Sad panda now.
Just lie down for a minute, honey. It'll pass. Much like my
And when
kidney
you wake
stones
up,
that
you'll be
soon shall
pregnant.
pass.
I know. I sighed. The nausea was already fading.
Mine wasn't.
Mm.
Does this happen a lot? She asked.
Like,
What was with the pregnant pause?
I forgot that I had more to read.
hard to forget when you're
Your
staring at it.
Yeah, I know.
Well, look at those wide eyes he's got. He's not a very observant raccoon.
Oh.
Sometimes, I admitted, Edward coughed to hide another laugh because he's an asshole.
What the hell was that?
Yuck,
Right.
yuck, 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 yuck.
You can go back to class now, she told him.
I'm supposed to stay with her. He said this with such assured authority that, even though she pursed her lips, the nurse didn't argue it further.
I don't think you
I'll get
really
you
needed
some-
those lines. You could have just used commas.
Yeah, I'm not sure why those extended hyphens are there.
I'll go get you some ice for your forehead and a paper bag for your face, dear, she said to me, and then bustled out of the room.
You were right. I moaned, letting my eyes close.
I usually am, but about what in particular this time?
Ditching
Stroke the ego.
is healthy. I practiced breathing evenly.
You know, as soon as this shit came to light and you realized what was up, all you had to do was like, hey, sorry, you can't do this. I'll wait out in the hall. Okay, thanks, bye.
Nightshade can't do that. You scared me for a minute there, he admitted after a pause. Okay.
Well, apparently, somehow from pricking a guy's thumb, they managed to make the sheet of paper drip with blood. So-
Well,
Yeah.
it was his middle finger, but yeah.
Oh, hey, why are you? I don't understand. I've seen like what happens, like we've done it, and I'm just trying to imagine bleeding that much from a fucking pinprick.
Right, because, I mean, it's like when you go and get your physical, they lance your finger so that they can draw your blood for testing purposes. And, I am considered to be a good bleeder. At least that's what I've been told.
Yeah, I'm like, sorry, I'm starting to think
and I
Mike
don't
might be a.
You're a good bleeder? What?
Yeah, I'm serious when I say they have told me that before, because sometimes they have to stab people multiple times.
I'm thinking Mike might be a bit of a hemophiliac there, like.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, even in my case, like, I'll give him enough blood to use, but I'm not shooting blood out of my fingertips.
Yeah, not like
You know how
Mike.
long it took me to donate a pint of blood? 47 seconds.
Wowie.
I have a blood pressure problem.
Boy.
And my person was like, "Wow, are you dizzy?" I'm like, "No," and they're like, "You should be."
That's great. Okay. His tone made it sound like he was confessing a humiliating weakness. I thought Newton was dragging your dead body off to bury it in the woods.
I thought I was going to
If
get
that's
lucky.
a reference, I don't get it.
Yeah, Isaac Newton's famous for murdering his friends and burying them in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
And then an apple fell on him.
okay.
Ha ha. I still had my eyes closed, but I was feeling more normal every minute. And I have to go for a second. I'm being called to take care of something.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Honestly, I've seen corpses with better color. I was concerned that I might have to avenge your murder. Oh my god. This guy.
Was it my turn to read or not?
He was worried about murdering somebody.
You're at, honestly, I've seen corpses with better color.
Wow, I didn't miss anything.
Nope.
Well, I went to story time, so. Poor Mike. I bet he'll be mad.
He absolutely loathes me, Edward said cheerfully.
Like, you can't know that, I argued. But then I wondered suddenly if he could.
I saw his face. I could tell.
How, did you see me? I thought you were, totally ditching. I was almost fine now, though the queasiness would probably pass faster if I'd eaten something for lunch. No, you probably would have vomited over everything had you ate. On the other hand, maybe it was lucky my stomach was empty.
I'm just gonna go with yes. I was in my car listening to a CD. Such a normal response. It surprised me, because I'm a spaz.
I was expecting
the
him
door.
to be the one burying bodies in the woods.
Yeah, I guess.
I heard the door and opened my eyes to see the nurse with a cold compress in one hand. Or in her hand. Where'd I get one hand? There's
She's
not
a
even...
one-handed nurse.
This... Okay. Yeah.
Here
Sounds
you go,
good.
dear, she said and laid it across my forehead. You're looking better, she added.
I think I'm fine, I said,
I
sitting
saw-
up.
saw-
Just a little ringing in my ears for some reason. No spinning. The mint green walls stayed where they should.
I could see she was about to make me lie back down, but the door opened just then, and Miss Cope stuck her head in.
We've got another one, she warned.
I
need
hopped
to
down
do
to
it.
free up the cot for the next invalid.
I handed the compress back to the nurse. Here, I don't need this.
And then Mike staggered through the door, now supporting a sallow-looking Lee Stevens, another boy in her biology class. Edward and I drew back against the wall to give them room.
They're dropping like flies in there.
Oh no! Edward muttered. Go back out to the office, Bella.
I looked up at him, bewildered.
Trust me. Go!
I spun and caught the door before it closed, starting out of the infirmary. I could feel Edward right behind me.
You actually listen to me.
He's just stunned.
I smelled the blood, I said, wrinkling my nose. Lee wasn't sick from watching other people, like me.
People can't smell blood, he contradicted.
What do you mean people can't smell blood? Yes, they can!
It smells like
Well,
iron, especially
actually-
if there's a lot of it.
His turn, the Dave's or Zach or what?
There's someone whose turn it is, and his name is Zephyr.
It's Dave's turn, isn't it?
Zephyr.
Did-
I already talked about how
Well,
we can
I
smell
can.
blood.
That's what makes me sick. It smells like rust and salt. Blah, 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 blah.
He was staring at me with an unfathomable expression.
What? I asked.
It's nothing.
Mike came through the door then, glancing from me to Edward. The look he gave Edward confirmed what Edward had said about loathing. He looks back at me, his eyes glum.
Why so glum, chum? You look better, he accused. You look better!
Okay, just calm down. It's okay. Just keep your hand in your pocket, I warned him again.
What?
Do you know what he's doing with his hands in his pocket?
No, right?
Maybe that's why she wants him to keep it in there so she can't see jack or shit.
It's not bleeding anymore, he muttered. Are you going back to class?
Are you kidding? I just have to turn around and come back.
Yeah, I guess. Well, so are you going this weekend to the beach? While he spoke, he flashed another glare toward Edward, who was standing against the cluttered counter, motionless as a sculpture, staring off into space.
I tried to sound as friendly as possible. Sure, I said I was in.
We're meeting at my dad's store at 10. His eyes flickered to Edward again, wondering if he was giving out too much information. Why?
TMI,
You could just tell him
Edward.
he's not invited. And if he shows up, he'll call the cops or some shit. I don't know. His body language made it clear that it wasn't an open invitation.
Like, I'll be there, I promised.
I'll see you in gym then, he said, moving uncertainly toward the door.
Whatever, I replied. He looked at me once more, his round face slightly pouting, and then he walked slowly through the door, his shoulders slumped. A swell of sympathy washed over me. I pondered, seeing his disappointed face again. In gym.
Jim, I groaned.
What is it, Spock?
Oh, you can take care of that. I hadn't noticed Edward was moving to my side, but he spoke now in my ear, very creepily. Go sit down and look pale, he muttered.
That
He was like an animal that can change. What
Yeah,
she looks
because
like.
I can
Yeah,
totally
she's a
concentrate the
chameleon.
blood flow from my skin.
Right. Like, who can look pale or not on command?
Probably members of the Blue Man Group.
wasn't a challenge. I was always pale, and my recent swoon had left a light sheen of sweat on my face. I sat in one of the creaky folding chairs and rested my head against the wall with my eyes closed. Fainting spells always exhaust me. I assume that's
I
just part
get
of the...
so tired when I pass out.
I heard Edward speaking softly at the counter.
Miss Cope.
Yes. I hadn't heard her return to her desk.
Bella has gym next hour. Wouldn't it be like next period or next block? Anyway. And I don't think she feels well enough. Actually, I was thinking I should take her home now. Do you think you could excuse her from class? His voice was like melting honey. I could imagine how much more overwhelming his eyes would be.
Jesus.
You need to be excused too, Edward, Miss Coat fluttered. Why couldn't I do that?
No, I have Mrs. Goff. I'm sure she won't mind.
Okay, it's all taken care of. You'll feel better, Bella, she called to me. I nodded weakly, hamming it up just a bit.
Can you walk or do you need me to carry you again? With his back to the receptionist, his expression became sarcastic.
I'll walk.
I stood carefully, and I was still fine. He held the door for me, his smile polite but his eyes mocking. I walked into the cold, fine mist that had just begun to fall. It felt nice, the first time I enjoyed the constant moisture falling out of the sky, as it washed my face clean of the sticky perspiration.
How can it do that? It must be like just pouring.
It's more
if
than
it can do
mist
that.
at that point.
It's acid rain.
Yeah. Acid
I'm
rain.
melting! What a world! What a world!
Thanks, I said as he followed me out. It's almost worth getting sick to miss Jem.
Anytime. He was staring straight forward, squinting into the rain.
Because he's like a fucking badass.
Mhm.
So, are you going this Saturday, I mean? I was hoping he would, though it seemed like unlikely. I couldn't picture him looking up to carpool
No.
with the rest of the
No.
kids from
No.
school.
No.
Huh?
No. He said looking up to the carpool?
Looking up, he
I
looks
couldn't
at the
picture that either.
Yeah, loading up to carpool with the rest of the kids from school. He didn't belong in the same world, but just hoping that he might give me the first twinge of enthusiasm I'd felt for the outing. If you really don't want to go, just don't go.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Where are you all going exactly? He was still looking ahead, expressionless.
down to the push to first beach. They studied his face, trying to read it. His eyes seemed to narrow infinitesimally.
That's very good. Well done.
He glanced down at me from the corner of his eye. Wait, what? He glanced down at me from the corner of his eye.
From out of the corner of his eye, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Smiling wryly. I really don't think I was invited. 'Cause that's totally stopped you before.
I sighed. I just invited you. Now you're stuck with it.
You can't just do that.
Yeah, I invite people to other people's parties all the time.
Right?
Yes, you invite people to other people's parties and then you don't show up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I set this person in my place. I hope you like that.
Let's you and I not push poor Mike any further this week. We don't need him to snap. His eyes danced. He was enjoying the idea more than he should. Fucking psychopath.
Mike Schmike, I muttered, preoccupied by the way he'd said you and I. I'd like it more than I should.
They treat Mike in this story the same way these other bad fan fictions treat people that the author doesn't like.
Yeah.
You know, they're characters that get written into the story just to be a punching bag.
Right, I figure Mike is the same character as Carlos in 50 Shades of Grey. Eventually Bella's gonna get drunk and
You mean,
Mike is gonna have a weird
Are
that's
you talking
next
about
chapter.
Jose?
Yes.
Jose, I'm sorry.
Carlos, Jose. Their names.
We were near the parking lot now. I had veered left towards my truck. Something caught my jacket, yanking me back.
Where do you think you're going? He asked, outraged. He was gripping a fistful of my jacket in one hand. Damn, calm down. Calm down.
Fistful of jacket.
I was confused. I'm going home?
Didn't you hear me promise to take you safely home? Do you think I'm going to let you drive in your condition? His voice was still indignant.
You're being kind of a super uncool dick right now. Maybe I should call my dad, who's a fucking cop, on your ass. What condition? And what about my truck? I complained. I would be
I'll have
doing more
Alice-
than complaining here.
I'll have Alice drop it off after school. He was towing me toward his car now. Pulling me
He's
by my
forcing
jacket.
me into his fucking car. That's not
It was all I
cool.
could. It was all I could do to keep from falling backward. He'd probably just drag me along anyway if I did.
This is not cool. This is totally out of nowhere.
Cool. He's gonna score.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
jeez.
This is how that date rape song goes, doesn't it?
Oh God.
Let go, I
Yeah,
insisted.
but see, at the end of that song, she sues his ass, and the judge is like, "You're right. He's an asshole. He's going to fucking jail for it." And well,
And he was butt raped by a
Yes.
large inmate.
yeah.
He ignored me. I staggered along sideways across the wet sidewalk until we reached the Volvo. Then he finally freed me. I stumbled across the passenger door and drew my pistol.
Yes. Unfortunately, it was a single shot, but I was at point blank range.
Unfortunately, it was a water gun.
Yes, it was
Yeah, it
actually.
doesn't actually work against vampires here,
And
unlike.
it wasn't a
Holy
good water,
water
gun, because all it did was shoot out a flag that said bang.
Uh,
You are so pushy.
this is a
Like,
little
She's just
more
like
than
Snoop
being
Dogg.
pushy, friend.
No, I don't want to know.
God of Kong.
Do it,
God
Zach.
said,
Don't
so
make
It's
me
open.
get pushy.
make a run for it.
It's open, was all he responded. He got into the driver's side.
I'm perfectly capable of driving myself home, asshole. I stood by the car, fuming. It was raining harder now, and I'd never put my hood up, so my hair
Oh,
was
it stopped
dripping down.
raining.
Your hair was dripping down your back.
Yeah.
Ew.
He lowered the automatic window and leaned toward me across the street. Get in the freaking car, Bella.
No,
Get in the,
no,
get in
you're
the
crazy.
Robot, Bella.
You're crazy.
Get in the robot. Get in the robot, Bella.
Just start dancing away, and then go tell the teachers that he just basically tried to force your ass into his car.
I didn't answer. I was mentally calculating my chances of reaching the truck before he could catch me. I had to admit, they weren't good. Yeah, because he's a freaking superhuman.
Also an asshole.
I'll just drag you back, he threatened.
Wow!
suggesting my plan.
Wow, this guy.
This
Wowie.
is so an abusive relationship, and we're not even at the
He
relationship
went
part.
from like 0 to rape in like 2 seconds. I tried to maintain what dignity I could and got into his car. I wasn't very successful. I looked like a half-drowned cat, and my boots squeaked. So she's a
Squeaky?
puss in boots.
Oh, I see what you did there.
This is like completely unnecessary, psychopath. I said stiffly.
He didn't answer. He fiddled with the controls, turned the heater up and the music down. As we pulled out of the parking lot, I was preparing to give him the silent treatment. My face in full pout mode, but then I recognized the music playing and my curiosity got the better of my intentions.
What the fuck?
Claire de Lune? I asked, surprised.
You know Debussy. He sounded surprised too.
Okay, no, in all
Gary
honesty,
Debussy.
Gary
Oh
Debussy.
no.
One of the most like embarrassing things in high school was when our teacher played classical music for an exercise, and then afterwards she said, "Does anybody know what that is?" And I knew what it was, and everyone just fucking stared.
I was proud to know what my classical music was.
I was proud to know it too, and I said it like I was proud to know it, but every single person just looked at me like I was a fucking cunt. They didn't
Well,
like
then
it
that's
very
their
much.
problem, I guess.
But also at the same time, I didn't drive around in my fucking car listening to it. Not well, I admitted. My mother plays a lot of classical music around the house. I only know my favorites. I don't know how, but somehow I skipped ahead 2 pages.
You're trying to finish the story before we get that far. I don't
Yeah.
blame you.
Trying to leave the rest of us in the dust, huh?
It's one of my favorites, too. He stared out through the rain, lost in thought. Shouldn't he be driving and not lost in thought?
Hopefully.
He's lost in thought as he drives.
Lost in
The white line
space.
fever.
I listened to the music, relaxing against the light gray leather seat.
I
It
bet
was-
the fact that she picked this song in particular makes Stephanie Meyer feel like she's so sophisticated.
It was impossible to not to respond to the familiar soothing melody. The rain blurred everything outside the window into gray and green smudges. I began to realize we were driving very fast. The car moved so steadily, so evenly though. I didn't feel the speed. Only the town flashing by gave it away.
I feel the need for speed.
Speed
Yeah, now imagine like
racer.
every racing movie you've ever seen where people are racing, but like Claire de Lune playing in the
Go
background.
Speed Racer.
So fucking
Go
exciting.
Speed Racer. Go Speed Racer. Go.
What is your mother like? He asked me suddenly. Oh.
Want to know about my mother? I'll tell you about my mother.
You know how I got these scars.
Oh dear.
I glanced over to see him studying me with curious eyes. Watch the road!
You got curious eyes. She looks a lot like me, but prettier. I said. Oh,
I could
that's
probably say that about my mom too.
yeah. She raised his eyebrows.
Wait, she raised
She?
She did?
He raised. Oh, for fuck's sake! My glasses are not helping me. He raised his eyebrows. I have too much Charlie in me.
Whoa.
Oh, God.
Many people complain
You know, I'd
about
be
that.
totally okay if this suddenly turned into an incest story between Bella and Charlie, because I'm sure
Well,
that'd be
Charlie's
far
a
more
sailor.
interesting
For a
than
second
what
there.
we're
Charlie
reading
don't
right
surf.
now.
I have too much Charlie in me.
Wink,
Charlie
wink,
don't
nudge, nudge.
surf. She's more outgoing than I am.
Wait, are you calling your dad a coward?
No, she's calling herself a coward.
Well, yeah, but after that one line, I'm like,
No, she's just saying
Oh,
that
I
Charlie
see.
is ugly.
oh, that too.
Either way, it's not very nice to her dad.
Right.
She's more outgoing than I am and braver. She's irresponsible and slightly eccentric. She's a very unpredictable cook. She's my best friend. That explains why I'm a fucking spaz too. I stopped talking about her was making me feel depressed.
How old are you, Bella? His voice sounded frustrated for some reason. I couldn't imagine. I really, I'm into older women, so I'm only getting close to you to find out more about your mom.
Older women would be like 307, right?
Yeah.
Technically,
or,
yeah.
You know,
Mature
500
women,
years
I
old.
guess. He'd stopped the car, and I realized we were at Charlie's house already. The rain was so heavy that I could barely see the house at all. It was like the car was submerged under a river. Also, I'm still referring it to as Dad's house instead of my house, because I live there now.
I'm 17. I responded a little confused.
You don't seem 17. Yes, she does.
More
Yes,
like
she
younger
most
than
certainly
she's-
does.
She's so fucking like, like.
Yeah, she has teenage girl written all over her.
His tone was reproachful. It made me laugh.
What? He asked, curious again.
My mom always says, like, I was born 35 years older than that, old, and that I get more middle-aged every year. I laughed and then sighed.
Shit.
Well,
Now, when guys tell you that you seem mature for your age, they just want to get in your pants.
usually, yes.
And you need to run.
Yes. Well, we already know this because he basically forced you into his fucking car. So,
Right?
Katie pipes in. She says they're practicing what they're going to tell the judge.
okay.
Ooh.
Well, someone has to be the adult. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
But it's not you.
Say no more.
I paused for a second. You don't seem much like a junior in high school yourself, I noted. Because you've been around him enough to realize that he seems more mature for his age, but also an a-hole.
He made a face and changed the subject.
So why did your mother marry Dr. Phil?
I was surprised he would remember the name. And then I realized he had his TV show. I'd mentioned it just once, almost 2 months ago. It took me a moment to answer.
My mother, she's very young for her age. I think Phil makes her feel even younger. At any rate, she's crazy about him. I shook my head. The attraction was a mystery to me. The baldness, the mustacheness,
The fact that he was actually a plumber and saved
the
princesses.
fact that he's a plumber.
Do you
You are one screwed up little man.
do you approve? He asked.
Does it matter? I countered. I want her to be like happy and whatever and stuff. And he is who she wants.
That's very generous. I wonder, he mused.
What are you wondering about? That's like just you radiate creepiness, dude.
He does.
What?
That is the entirety of that line, by the way, Zach.
Oh shit! Would she extend the same courtesy to you? Do you think? No matter who your choice was, he was very suddenly into his eyes searching mine.
I think so. I stuttered. But she's the parent, after all. It's a little bit different.
No one too scary then.
He teased.
You mean like you, dude?
Right.
I grinned in response. What do you mean by scary? Multiple facial piercings and extensive tattoos?
Or some asshole who drags me to his car and forces
Right.
me inside.
Well, that's one definition, I suppose.
What's your definition?
But he ignored my question and asked me another, because he's a jerk like that. Do you think that I could be scary? He raised one eyebrow. Yes, in fact you have been!
you are
Several
terrifying.
times! And the faint trace of a smile lightened his face.
I thought for a moment, wondering whether the truth or a lie would go over better. I decided to go with the truth. I think you could be, if you wanted to.
Are you frightened of me now? Oh my goodness, dude.
Holy fucking shit! This is his fucking like pickup line. This is him saying like, "Hey baby."
Yes! Yes I am!
His smile vanished and his heavenly face was suddenly serious.
No.
Apparently, I only have a brain cell, not enough to rub together to actually think of something like get the F out of this car and go right into my house and lock the door and call my dad.
But I answered too quickly. The smile returned.
So, now are you going to tell me about your family? I asked to distract him. It's got to be much more interesting story than mine.
He was instantly cautious. What do you want to know? I don't know. Just give me a rundown of the basics. My mom and dad are who, and they do this, and then here are my brothers and sisters. You've seen them around the school. There.
The Collins adopted you, I verified.
Yes.
I hesitated for a moment. What happened to your parents?
They died many years ago. His tone was matter of fact.
I'm sorry, but not really, I mumbled.
As a matter of fact, my parents are dead.
I don't remember them that clearly. Carlisle and Esme have been my parents for a long time now.
Oh god, I thought his mom and dad were his mom and dad. That's even creepier. That he's got like a weird, creepy vampire family.
And you love them.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. It wasn't a question. It was obvious in the way he spoke of them.
Yes. He smiled. I couldn't imagine two better people. Maybe my real parents. Oh, they were gunned down in the middle of an alley. I was just a baby. It was really sad. Somebody else read.
You're very lucky.
I know I am.
But what am I? Oh, wait, no.
And your brother and sister?
He glanced at the clock on the dashboard.
You have somewhere to be, a-hole? You didn't mention that before.
My brother and sister. And Jasper. And Rosalie. And Alfred. You can't forget Alfred. For that matter, Alfred are going to be quite upset if they happen to stand in the rain waiting for me. I'm quite upset indeed.
So wait, how long did this take and how much of the day was left from school? Was gym the last period?
I guess. I'm sorry. Oh, sorry. Oh, so sorry. I guess you have to go. I didn't want to get out of the car.
And you probably want your truck back before Chief Swan gets home. So you don't have to tell him about the biology incident. He grinned at me.
Stop staring at me, Schwan.
No, No, you want to get my car back to me before he comes home because I'm going to tell him about you being an abusive dickhole.
Psychopath.
Psychopaths are there when you don't want them
serial
to.
Killer.
I'm sure, like, he's already heard. There are, like, no secrets in forks, I sighed.
Man. He laughed, and there was an edge to his laughter.
An edge of madness.
Have fun at the beach. Good weather for sunbathing and for catching criminals. Yeah. He glanced out at the sheeting rain. Which is
I hate it when
fast
it's
for
sheeting
something
rain.
else.
Have fun at the beach.
Pooping bloody tears down their
Will I
faces.
see you tomorrow?
No, Emmett and I are starting the weekend early.
Emmett!
What are you going to do? A friend could ask that, right? I hope the disappointment wasn't too apparent in my voice.
We're going to be hiking in the Goat Rocks Wilderness, just south of Rainier.
Are the goats looking up that salt? Do they crave that mineral?
Oh, thank God we're at the end.
I
Sorry,
remember
excuse me.
Charlie had said the Cullens went camping frequently.
Oh, well, have fun. I tried to sound enthusiastic. I don't think I fooled him, though. A smile was playing around the edge of his lips. So I'm just imagining, like, the corners of his lips just, like, bouncing up and down like a crazy person. Like, he can't decide what emotion he's trying to convey.
Like some sort of model error in a computer game.
Yeah.
Will
Okay.
you do something for me this weekend? He turned to look me straight in the face, utilizing the full power of his burning gold eyes. Oh my
I
God.
don't love those golden eyes.
I nodded helplessly.
Don't be offended, but you seem to be one of those people who just attract accidents like a magnet. So, try not to fall into the ocean or get run over or anything, alright? He smiled crookedly.
That's not
Dude,
creepy
you
at all.
are growing to be just as much of a spaz as she is.
No, it's like he's like insulting her to her face constantly. It's like, "Hey, you're fucking klutz."
Yeah, it's
Don't
not
kill
like
yourself.
he is insulting her to her face constantly.
The helplessness has faded as he spoke. I glared at him.
You remind me of my mother. I'll see what I can do. I snapped as I jumped into the rain. I slammed the door behind me with excessive force,
I shattered the window.
shattering the windshield.
And ran inside the house, locked the doors, and called Dad. He was still smiling as he drove away. The asshole.
Which isn't creepy at all.
No, it's not, apparently. Oh.
Finally, that dragged on for way too long.
Yes, it did.
Yeah, I know,
That
right?
took us 2 hours.
All
There
that
was-
happened.
There's an entire chapter of nothing happened.
Yeah,
Yes.
except,
No,
except
stuff
that
happened.
Edward was a creepy douchebag.
Yeah.
Which we kind of knew already.
Yeah, except that it just got raised a bar because he turned into full, like, freaky,
Get in the
abusive, crazy dude.
Put the fucking lotion on.
Put the fucking lotion in the basket.
Your chances of survival are remote.